we're counting down the top 5 food, drinks, and entertainment from opening night of Fan Fest Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood. So Kevin and I, this is Amanda. Hi.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin.
We went to opening night of Fan Fest Nights, and we tried a lot of food, a lot of drinks, and experienced all 5 of the entertainment throughout the Universal Studios Hollywood land.
I mean, there were at least 7 in-world experiences, so we did more than 5.
Well, 5 were in-world experiences, and 2 were like meet and
one's
greets.
a fan zone.
Yeah, one's a fan meet zone.
What's the Harry Potter one considered?
An in-world experience.
That's weird because it seems like less so. That's fine. You know, they're still figuring things out over there, and we're figuring it out too. So I'm sure it'll change as the whole season goes on.
Yeah.
This is running through until May something.
May 18th on select nights.
Yeah, all right. So anyway, we're going to talk about what we experienced. We didn't try every food item or drink item, so we can't tell you, this is the best. We've tried it all. But from what we tried, it was our top picks from reading the descriptions. And some of them were big hits. Some of them were not as great as we were hoping that they were going to be. And we're going to keep it honest here. But again, the whole experience was fantastic. We're going to start with that.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful time. It was surprisingly not that busy. They say they sold out that first night, but it didn't feel crowded in there at all.
No.
We've been there for Halloween Horror Nights where it feels packed all of those are sold out too. But I think that they've limited the capacity to this event at a much lower number of people,
mm-hmm.
which is great because they have a little less to do. And nothing had a long wait except for food. Food was the only issue where the kitchen kind of got backed up or the servers are backed up trying to get stuff out.
And the meet and greet for Yoshi.
And the meet and greet for Yoshi took a while. That's true.
But that's understandable. It's a limited time character. And we'll get to that in just a moment.
Yeah, but that's the first time in the US. I don't know if they're in Japan. I assume that the blue and pink were in Japan. So for everyone who doesn't know, right now during the Fan Fest nights, they have it where you can meet and greet with Yoshi, which we all knew about. I knew that there was going to be the green Yoshi down on the lower lot. They had pictures of him in front of that rounded top door. But they also have a scavenger hunt going on, which obviously piques our interest,
mm-hmm.
if you know who we are. We're in the park. We make games for theme parks. They're a little more complicated. It kind of fell into a pitfall. I mean, we're kind of jumping ahead here, I know. But I just want to point out that when you do a scavenger hunt with a bunch of people, it's kind of the way scavenger hunts were traditionally done in parks, is that it kind of turns into a situation where you're just kind of following the crowd from one spot to another because you can tell where to go next because that's where everyone is trying to check off their card, essentially. And in this situation, it was fun crowns with Yoshi egg stickers. And again, a fun time. Definitely
mm-hmm.
do it if you're going to this event. Don't pass it up.
Very cute.
But maybe do it first if it's going to be the same as it was for us last night on the first event, where I was worried that the in-world experiences were going to have huge lines because of the way it was described of them being live actors, and I didn't know how quickly they were going to get people through. But those lines stayed pretty short the whole night.
Mm-hmm.
They peaked at 25 minutes to 35 minutes at certain times of the day, but for the most part, they were 5 minutes or just walk-ons.
Yeah, that was awesome. So getting to the live entertainment, we're going to break down all 7 experiences, 5 of those being in-world experiences, and then there was a fan zone and a show. So starting with our number...
Yeah, we can start at the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, so number 5 for the in-world experiences would be Harry Potter. Now, the only reason why Harry Potter is 5th on the list is because we went to that world a little later in the evening, and so I think the characters weren't out as frequently, maybe, but we did see the Niffler.
Yeah, we saw both of the characters that were out.
Yeah, we didn't see the big dragon,
okay.
But we saw a baby dragon.
Okay, I didn't even know what I was missing, so
yeah,
that's probably on me.
Yeah, so we did see some characters walking around, and the Niffler was interacting with guests and stuff. There was an actor that was with the Niffler and interacting with the crowd, so that was a lot of fun. It was really weird to see the land so empty.
Yeah.
It was after 11:30 at night. The event went on until 2 a.m. And the rides were open, so you could experience a lot of the attractions throughout the park. But yeah, Harry Potter was number 5 on the list.
Yeah, we missed the show, the
Mhm.
projection show. I forgot what the name of it was. I just looked it up and I already forgot.
Hogwarts Always.
That sounds right. So that show, I mean, we've seen other projection shows on the castle, so we weren't like really like feeling like we needed to do this one as well. Like we would have made it, we would have had a fun time, we would have watched it, but we just happened to not get there before 11:30. There weren't any signs really making it clear that 11:30 was the final showtime, because you can see and hear the fireworks going off over the castle from everywhere in the park every like hour, it felt like, for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, hey, this thing goes until 2. We'll get there later, check it out when there's less of a crowd. But apparently it ends at 11:30 because it's in the middle of the city. It makes a lot of sense why it does. We just didn't think about it at the time.
Yeah, and the app wasn't very informative as far as the times, the show times. And asking some of the staff, it was kind of hard to get information. Some had differing information, others just didn't know. And so I think there was a lack of communication to help guests out in that regard as well.
Yeah, they're definitely still figuring things out. Again, it was the first day. We understand it. We respect it. It wasn't a big deal. Again, we'll be okay.
Oh, yes. Definitely.
But it still goes to the bottom of the list of the top 5. Again, there were 7 total. Should we just say the other 2 right now, just to bring it down?
The honorable mentions.
Yeah.
So the One Piece fan zone was just a character meet and greet in 2 different locations.
At least 2, yeah.
2, and then there was a kind of a wall that you could take a picture behind, like so your face appeared in some wanted posters. And this was in front of the DreamWorks theater area.
Yeah, where they do the Kung Fu Panda show.
Yes.
Personally, like when I read fan zone, I was like, oh man, it's gonna be like a scare zone, but for fans instead of being scared. So I expected to walk through there and have it where a bunch of people were dressed like characters from One Piece. We don't know a lot of One Piece, we'll be honest with you. Like, it's not our fandom. But going through there, you could tell that isn't what they were planning to do. Like she said, there were just kind of 2 spots along that walkway that were set up as meet and greets where you saw people taking photos with the characters from One Piece on the sides, like near the walls as you walk forward. So you weren't really like kind of in the middle of the world like you are during Halloween Horror Nights.
Right. And we will say that the cosplay game was strong with this fandom. So many people were dressed as characters from One Piece. So because we are not very well versed in the fandom of the show, for me it was kind of hard to tell who
who worked there and who was just a guest. Yeah,
exactly.
Who was having fun.
Which speaks to the quality of the outfits that the cosplayers had. Some of them were all done out for not just One Piece, but all of the fandoms. So that was a lot of fun to see. But yeah, the other honorable mention was the Jujutsu Kaisen show. And this was inside the DreamWorks theater, where the Kung Fu Panda show normally is. And I personally was hoping for live actors, like they've had in the past with like the Blumhouse experience at Halloween Horror Nights, where they have dancers, with Megan and different characters
or
Chucky. And this was just a show, an anime show.
Just projected.
That was projected onto the walls and then the screen in front of you. They had the little pre-show, and then everything had the subtitles for the English subtitles and everything.
That's true. Everything was in Japanese.
Everything is in Japanese. Yes. So again, we are not followers of this fandom, so I was a little lost in the storyline.
I was very lost in the storyline. I mean, I didn't know, like, it felt like a lot of things that they were saying they thought were hilarious, but like the jokes weren't landing for me, so I was like, okay, so it was just kind of a weird, like, maybe if I was really invested in this show, I'd be like, oh, that's a callback to something that I should understand, but just sitting there as someone who doesn't know what's going on, it was kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they mentioned like one of the characters was going to Universal Japan and he got an annual pass and he got some popcorn. And so it was kind of interesting that they threw that in there.
Well, the show is created for that park. So I think those jokes are a little funnier in Universal Japan when they're talking about how much fun they had at Universal Japan, Universal Studios Japan in Osaka. Whereas I think they just took that show and just plugged it into the like theater over here just without any edits at all. And it just felt a little weird.
Yeah. So that one was definitely at the bottom of the list. We saw that very late. It was one of the last things that we did. Yeah. It was after 1 a.m. at that point. And so that was pretty much a walk on. The theater wasn't full. But
I do love that theater though. So like if you've never seen the Kung Fu Panda show and you just saw this show, I would think it would be a lot more impressive.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that the Kung Fu Panda show really uses that theater with like the walls and everything.
And the vibrations in the chair. And...
yeah, everything kind of like fits so well with that show that going into this one, it just feels like it's not as great of an experience as what they usually have there. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so...
with that out of the way.
Yes. Getting back to our top 5. So, number 4 for the in-world experience is the Dungeons and Dragons experience.
Yes. I put it at 4 personally. I don't know. It was kind of between 4 and 3 for this, I'll be honest with you guys. Because I love the idea behind this. Neither of us, again, talking about fandoms that we're not part of. We do love Harry Potter. I don't know if we said that out loud. We've watched all the movies. We've read all the books. Dungeons and Dragons, though, like we've never played. I've watched the movies. The most recent one and the one that came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s. I don't remember when it even came out. But for this one, like I didn't know what was happening most of the time we were in there. It definitely did not tie in with the movie. It was just kind of weird. I don't know. I didn't like if you've been there for Halloween Horror Nights, I'm kind of like starting sentences and stopping them. It's just there's so many thoughts in my head as far as like how to describe this. If you've been to Halloween Horror Nights, it's kind of the same setup as like, where you're going from room to room, except for Halloween Horror Nights, it's like more narrow walkways where you're going through just like almost like a conga line people talk about. Yeah. Where over here it's show stops. So you go into one big room and then there's live actors who are telling a story and things are happening. But the problem is that there's live actors in like the next room without that great of walls in between. So you kind of hear muffled sounds from the next room as the actors in your room are trying to tell you a story as well. Yeah.
And these rooms are quite large to fit a large number of people. So depending on where you were in the room, you got more of the audio from the neighboring rooms than you did from the room that you were in. So story-wise, it was hard to follow because of that. I didn't even think the actors were mic'd at one point because I couldn't hear them.
I would hear them through the speaker, like, because I kept trying to stay in the back because I was recording. I didn't want to be that guy holding up his camera in the front of the group.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of a weird, like, I hear the speaker, but it's kind of muffled with the other speaker in the other room, and I'm like, but even when I could hear it though, the language of Dungeons and Dragons is so specific to people who know that universe that most of what they were saying was going over my head. So
yeah. But the actors were great.
Oh yes.
I don't think we said the full name of this one. It's Dungeons and Dragons Secrets of Waterdeep. So for those of you who are familiar with the fandom, that might have more significance to you. And the location of this was behind Transformers in the little stage show that they have back there. So we went to the right of Transformers behind the show building. And this is where they've had some other Halloween Horror Night things.
The houses.
I think this is the room that the Stranger Things was in.
And the Weekend. Thing last year.
Yeah. And so we kind of did a switchback outside of that area and then went into the studio.
Into the soundstage.
Soundstage.
Yeah.
For where that is. But yeah, really great theming and detail in each room. I said to a few of the employees there that there's so much to take in, but it's so dim, first of all, in some of the rooms, and you're rushed from one room to the next so they can continue the flow of traffic and get the next wave in there, that you can't experience all of the details in one go. So detail-oriented people like we are that really appreciate all of the time and energy that it took to put the details in place, then this is definitely one that you want to go through multiple times to experience.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they were going for. It's kind of like the Haunted Mansion or Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland, where you can't stop and just look around. So you're going to see something new every time you go on it.
Right.
That's kind of how you would experience these, where there's so much to see that you do want to do it again. Yeah, this one we didn't do again, so maybe that's why it's lower on our list. But
we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about like the big creature that was in there.
Xanathar? Is that? I'm not sure how to pronounce
Xanathar?
it. I believe it's Xanathar is what they said. It's spelled with an X.
Yeah.
But they had they worked apparently with the Jim Henson Creature Shop, and they had at least 2 puppets that I could tell had like their signature on them. And they were fantastic. They were huge. They were beautiful. If I didn't know that it was Jim Henson, I would be really confused on how they pulled it off, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm still confused. Like, it is so big. And everything was great on it. It had like light effects on everything. And
yeah.
Definitely.
It was really, really cool. And where we were positioned in the room, we were one of the closer ones to it.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
We're going to have the images and stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll spoil it for you. So it's in the room with you. Okay. They won't know where it is. It's fine. Just go there, have fun. It's going to be great. If you want to be spoiled, I'm sure people on YouTube have the full experience. They weren't stopping anyone from filming. Yeah. So that was interesting and nice. But yeah.
All right. So number 3 on our list of in-world experiences is the Super Nintendo World.
Yeah, I was surprised this would be this high on the list because I thought, like, from like reading about it, it was just going to be a Yoshi character meet and greet. That's what I thought it was going to be 100%. I'm like, that's cool. I like Yoshi, that's good. But we got there and actually when we were watching the Dungeons and Dragons show, because like when you get out of that, you're right there by Super Nintendo World. We actually ran into our friend Dusty Sage, who runs Mice Chat. And he told us, oh, yeah, they're doing a scavenger hunt in there. Make sure to get your headbands right when you walk in, because that's the first time I heard about it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, same.
So I was like, what? They're doing a scavenger hunt? And again, if you know us, that's what we're all about. So we walked in there, we got our headbands, and we just started finding Yoshi eggs throughout the land.
Yeah, so the headbands, right as you walk out of the castle on the other side into the land, there are some tables to the left. So if you just continue walking through the land, you're going to miss it. But there's a couple of people that are at some tables, and they have a variety of headbands to choose from with different colored Yoshis on them. And then there's five eggs to find that are different colors. And it says on the band a clue as to where those eggs can be found. So you go over to that location where you think it might be and see if you can find these very large eggs that are different colors. And then there's going to be a staff member that has a sticker with that corresponding egg color to put on your headband. So you go around the land finding all 5. And when you do, you'll find the team member that has the gold medallion with the Yoshi on it. And then you can get in line to meet a Yoshi character. So on this opening night, it was either the blue or the pink Yoshi. And so that line, we were up by where the ice caps are.
Yeah, if you know where the frozen area on the second floor of Super Nintendo World is.
So that's where the line starts. So there was a door that had opened right at the top of the stairs there. And you actually are in the overflow line area for Bowser's Challenge. Yeah. So Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. And so we were actually in that line for an hour.
Yeah, they didn't warn us it was going to be an hour. There wasn't a sign saying it was kind of. It was interesting the lack of information that we were receiving because we didn't even know what we were getting in line for when we first got in line.
Right.
It was just like, oh, hey, come over here to get your gold medallion and then stand with everybody. You know?
We were informed with people who had the gold medallion sheets to go get the gold medallion from somebody else, which was also really confusing. Yeah. So we ended up going to 3 different people who had gold medallion sheets before we actually got one, which was super confusing. But yeah, so we stood in line, and eventually we got our picture with the blue Yoshi. Super cute. I
would say it was worth the wait. It was pretty great.
He was really great. But yeah, so that's why that one is number 3. Everything else in the land is fully accessible. You have, well, I take that back. Some of the mini challenges with the bands, those were not.
Were they not running?
The one near the ice castle on the bottom floor, where you punch up the shell.
Oh, okay, yeah. The power block one.
The power block, that one was down.
I didn't know.
But I believe the other ones were available. But anyway, there was still so much to do because the characters were still out on the bottom floor. You could still meet Yoshi and Toad and Peach and Mario and Luigi. Yeah. Everybody was out. And then the Toadstool Cafe was open. The snack cart was open right there. So there was still plenty to do. And of course, you have your power-up bands, and so you can still interact with everything in the land there. So
yeah, I wanted to point out with the Toadstool Cafe, where if you have like that link on your phone like I do to be able to make the reservations from home, it doesn't work for the nighttime event. Mm-hmm. When the night kind of like when the day restarts for the nighttime event, they put the QR code back out saying, hey, make your reservation. So it would kind of open up a new window of opportunity to get in there. So if you're looking at it thinking that they're already sold out for your whole night, it's just not available yet. So if you are wanting to do that, go ahead and head over there and scan that QR code right away. We'll get into our opinions on the new food later.
Yes.
But just know that in case you do want to go to that.
Yeah. All right, number 2 on the in-world experiences list is Back to the Future.
This is was a tough toss-up between 1 and 2. I'm not going to lie to you guys.
Yes.
Both of these were really great. Really just amazing that they put this in place for fans. That, I don't know. They both were they were both a little emotional for me, where it was just like, this is something that I've wanted to do for so long, and they are letting me do this. Is kind of the feeling for both of these experiences. I feel like Back to the Future just had a little less for me, but again, they had live actors out there. You were on the actual courthouse square from the movie, and they decorated the buildings around it to look like you were in the movie.
Yes.
Which
they decorated some of the storefronts around to fit the time period. You had the area where Marty would be in the DeLorean, and so you have the strip of fire where the cars would be with the spinning license plate frame. You had the projection show every 45 minutes or so with the fireworks for the lightning. I was a little disappointed about the show, though, because I was expecting the lightning effect that they just put in for Darkmoor over in Epic Universe. And I was hoping to get some of that newer technology into this show to mimic the lightning that was going on at the clock tower. Yeah. But I still love the show. Don't get me wrong.
But after seeing like the video of that, like over there in Epic Universe, I don't know how they would have pulled it off over here and not look kind of hokey. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with the way they did. They had like flashing lights, like simulating lightning behind you as the projections are on the building of the movie. Yeah. And then the explosion looked pretty screen accurate.
It was.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's true.
Like looking at, because they projected the movie, so you can see how it looked in the movie. Then you see the actual courthouse from the movie with the same exact explosion above it that just looks so much like it did in the movie from '85. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, so, I like that.
Yeah, and that's to clarify. My expectation going into it was the Darkmoor lightning effects. What they did was very true and movie accurate. So I do appreciate everything that they did to put it, and it is the right choice. Yeah. But
I mean, I was kind of hoping for like a Doc Brown actor up being on the clock tower during that scene.
Oh, that'd be great.
You know, to try to really act like it's recreating the scene. But I'm sure for safety reasons, they couldn't have a person doing that every 45 minutes, or even like how much it would cost to pay someone to do that for 45 minutes. I don't know.
Right. But there was a Doc Brown character that ran
Yes.
up to the clock tower, and then after the show was done, he ran back out.
Yeah, he like danced. He did the dance of joy that Doc Brown does in the movie when Marty does make it back to the future.
Yeah.
So
and references the flames, the tire flames that was directly to the left, and so it was just really great. And then of course you had the high school band, you had the dance, you had all the characters were out.
George McFly and Biff. Yeah, it was great.
And Einstein was there. Doc Brown.
There was a long photo op with Einstein's the dog from the movie, in case you didn't know who Einstein was.
Yeah, he was in the DeLorean. And there was a nice backdrop behind that with some clocks and stuff. And
it looked like the house from the movie.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with the movie.
Yeah, so that was a really nice photo op. We did not stand in line for that, but we were just walking around, checking everything out. The principal was there. We had some other characters. I just forgot her name. Is it Lorraine? What's her name?
Lorraine's right, yeah.
And then
that's his mom.
Yeah. And then one of the guys from the school.
Strickland?
No, the other guy.
Oh, I don't remember his name. But that's okay.
But yeah, we had an interaction with Strickland.
Principal Strickland.
Principal. And he asked Kevin if he was getting into trouble.
He asked me if I was staying out of trouble, and I said, maybe. He didn't like that. So he put Amanda in charge of me, I think.
Yes. I was made a hall monitor, and he gave me a slip of paper saying that I was the hall monitor. So that was special. Yeah. So we got a picture with him. So that was awesome.
So yeah, really fun experience.
Mm-hmm. I do love too, and this is why, like, for me, might bump up to number one for me, was that you could stay down there as long as you wanted to.
That's true.
You weren't rushed to do anything. They had concessions. They also had bathrooms down there. And they had some fun games. You could win some prizes.
Yeah, it was kind of, it was a weird, it's kind of like how Knott's is doing nowadays, where it isn't to win prizes. It is, you are paying to play a game, but you are guaranteed to win a prize. But because of that, the game costs like $20 to play. And the prizes weren't that amazing. Like, they were just kind of like dolls. They had, one of them actually had like Back to the Future related items, but everything else was just kind of generic prizes.
There was like an axolotl plush or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't really understand it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still something fun to do. And like we know some people that were down there for half the night. So there's so much to do down there, and it's such an experience, such a vibe. Everybody's dancing around and they're having a great time, and so you had the live band from the school. So from
the band, not a school band,
no.
It was the band that was in the movie that was playing there
at the prom,
at the dance, at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
So they were playing throughout the night. So very, very fun experience. So you would take the tram tour down to that area, and then you would get back on a different tram and take that back up.
Yeah. They didn't really do any of the tram tour stuff. They didn't point out anything. You were just in the dark going down there. They had like a video with a Doc Brown character, which I don't know if that was the same guy who did the like stuff for the old ride. It definitely wasn't Christopher Lloyd.
No.
I'm not sure if he was the guy from the ride or if it was someone else. I don't know who this guy was. But it was okay.
Just trying to set the tone.
Setting exactly. I would have loved if they'd put a flux capacitor on every tram.
Oh, that would have been great.
I think that was just kind of missing, because they were telling you that you were going to be traveling back in time on the tram, because it reaches 8.8 miles per hour.
Yeah, that was cute.
Again, they don't go fast, but so it was fun. But again, number one for me, I mean, even talking about it, I think it's still number one for me, is the Star Trek Red Alert.
Yes.
Very,
very cool.
Which, again, anything that's wonderful, could be better. And like, the first time we went through this one twice. First time I'm like, I was hoping for a few more things, but going through it again, I think it just kind of like solidified. No, for where they put it and what they are capable of, it was pretty top notch.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the only like real gripe I have is that it felt too short. Where you were in danger, and then they resolve it, and then you were out the door.
Yeah. And we should preface, this one was located in between the Starbucks and the Secret Life of Pets. So this would be a Halloween haunt location for like the Quiet Place and The Last of Us.
It's kind of where you used to exit, if you remember those days when they had like the old Van Helsing or the Mummy or the Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. It's where you'd walk out of those guys. It's kind of where you walk into this guy.
Yeah. But yeah, the first time this is the very first thing we did, and then we went back to be one of the last things that we did, just because it was a walk on.
Just bookended our trip.
Yeah. So we ran to this first, and we were with a full room of people. And yeah, like Kevin mentioned, the story at the beginning, I was very lost. I was like, okay, there's this globule thing. I understand that we are in danger. And then we raced through the sick bay. We raced through engineering. But at each point, there's a live actor, which is awesome.
Yes.
And there was even like people in full makeup. Like one of them was Vulcan, or two. There was multiple Vulcans in the different rooms. Yeah. We had a Klingon.
Yes, the Klingon was, I think... the makeup was the best of all the actors in there.
Yeah.
And all of them were giving it their all, though. Let's be clear. Like, none of them were... Like, considering it was kind of opening night for the big show, essentially.
Yeah.
You could tell that they've been rehearsing their roles, and they had it all down in their head.
And we'll add, because we've been to Halloween Horror Nights, we keep mentioning it because it's a very one-to-one comparison as far as going room to room.
Yeah.
In Halloween Horror Nights, oftentimes you'll have a recording that the actors are like
lip syncing to.
This was live, so they were actually
they were all mic'd.
They were all mic'd. There were things around the room that were recorded, like the computer in the different rooms, saying code level yellow, and then they would react to it, but they were reacting in live time, so you saw their expressions, you saw them interact with you, and be like, oh, are you okay, and so that was really cool.
And they had to improvise every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's one scene where you're going into a turbo lift where the doors close behind you, and for some reason the doors reopened, and our I don't know what you want to call the guy who was there with us from Starfleet, like, he was like, why computer closed doors, he acted like he was annoyed that they reopened.
Yeah, emergency override.
Yeah. Where it's like, those weren't supposed to reopen, I'm pretty sure. I don't know what triggered it to, if it was a safety issue, if someone got too close to it. Mm-hmm. But he just played along with it, where it wasn't like, oh, let me hold and wait for this to get corrected. Yeah. It was like, no, we are really experiencing this, and that, like, this happened. And it was pretty great. I did love the way that they were ready to pivot and get the crowd through. The first time we did this, because again, we did it twice. The first time it was a much bigger crowd because it was we rope dropped it essentially. And inside the turbo lift, like, the guy was fantastic, but he was kind of like in a corner where it was a crowded turbo lift. But the second time we did it, it was like us and like 6 other people max.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
And this guy was just running back and forth to different terminals on the turbo lift as he's saying his lines, and it was just like, whoa, this is a workout, dude.
It elevated the level of danger too, because like he's kind of freaking out but trying to remain calm because he's supposed to be like in charge of us to get us to the evacuation pods, and then you end up going to the bridge instead, and he was like, yeah, they'll know what to do, let's go. So all of the actors were great. I did like being there towards the latter part of the night because there was so few people. You got to see more of that detail, and I wish we were able to spend more time on the bridge because there was a lot more to see. That's the biggest room, one of the bigger rooms, but that's okay. It's more reason to go back again, like we were mentioning in the Dungeons and Dragons piece, but a lot of work put into all of these experiences. And
I mean, with the bridge, to say it's the actual set that was used on the filming of the Picard ship. It's supposed to be the Enterprise D, I believe, as they tell you out loud in the pre-show. It was kind of interesting though, because like that room actually had where in the ceiling there was kind of a big hole where you can actually look up and see the ceiling of the soundstage that you were in, or whatever that building is. And it kind of had me wondering, like, wait, is that like where cameras would be during an actual filming of the show? You know, so it was kind of this weird moment of, oh, on the actual Enterprise D, but then it's like, I'm on like the actual film set of the Enterprise D that they created, and they shot a TV show here. Isn't like they just put it into a theme park and made it look like the real thing, but it was the real thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was very special.
That was really special. And that's why I'm like, oh, I wish we were able to spend more time in there, because there's so much as far as the Star Trek fandom is concerned, you know, to just sit and be like, oh my gosh, this is where everything happened. They do have another photo op that is around the corner in front of the Waterworld entrance. And so you can sit in a replica captain's chair on the bridge with a backdrop.
Yeah, because they don't let you near the captain's chair when you're in the actual set there during the show.
Yeah, it's just for the actors.
Yeah. But again, if you want that photo, it's available right around the corner. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are all the in-world experiences that we, I think that's all they had to offer, really. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot more fun than I was expecting. Talking about food though, right? Do you want to go to food first or drinks first?
Let's go to food first.
All right, so food first. You know, I don't know why, like, if you're listening and you love Disney and you love churros at Disney, we get you. Yeah. We love churros at Disney. I don't know why churros anywhere else just kind of, other than Legoland. If you're in Legoland, California, try their churros over in the back corner.
Their chocolate churros.
Over in the back corner where they're hand making them. They're fantastic. But besides that, like, Universal Studios churros just did not live up to my dreams. So we'll start with number 6. I know it's the top 5, but we'll talk about the one that we had that we aren't adding in the top 5 here, which was the 10 Shadows Churro over the DreamWorks concession cart. You know, talking is hard. It was all themed really beautifully, where you could tell like they put some work into it, make it look like a Jujutsu Kaisen, whatever. And it looked great.
Yeah.
And I was excited to try it, but they're just really narrow and kind of a weird chew to them. They don't have that crispy crunch that we're used to over at Disneyland. Yeah,
and the presentation wasn't ideal. No. Again, it was towards the latter part of the night because we needed to use some of our last tickets. We did get the dining pass that had 4 items and 2 entrees. I guess we should talk about our overall experience of how it went down, but we'll get to that maybe at the end.
Yeah.
And some tips.
Yes.
Of how to navigate the beverage and food situation at FanFest.
And I'm hoping that it changes as this event goes on. It was opening night, so.
Yeah. But getting back to the churros, it was later in the day, and there was a team member that was just cranking them out, trying to put them into the warmers, even though it was at the end of the night. And I highly doubt that all of those got eaten.
I don't know. Well, they ran out of the brownies.
They did.
So I think anyone who's using the tabs, like, that was all that was left to get. So that's why.
They can get the cookie though.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, it had the 10 churros. It had a really weird chew.
The 10 Shadows. It was 2 churros.
It was 2 churros. Yeah.
It was like 2 half churros.
1 vanilla and 1 chocolate. But yeah, it just they weren't that great. But also, they were really, really sweet.
Yeah.
Because of the icing that they put on there. And then they each have a chocolate or white chocolate circle,
a little medallion
with the emblem on it. And because we decided to go see the Jujutsu Kaisen show right afterward, and we pretty much walked right on, you can't bring food or drinks into the theater. And so, like, we scarfed the churros down very, very quickly. So
yeah, I mean, luckily they weren't that big. Like I said, it was like 2 little half skinny churros with a lot of sauce. I'm not saying like a regular churro isn't sweet, but this was just kind of, it was weird.
Yeah.
All right. But we got the complaint out of the way. We got one of the complaints out of the way. we'll have at least one more here. Between 4 and 5, it was a toss up for me. I'm still not sure, to be honest. So.
I think you have.
I feel like the top 3, I have it down. I think I'm okay with the top 3 here.
I don't know about number 1.
Oh wow, okay. So we're all mixed up here, but that's fine.
That's okay.
We'll talk about number 5 we have written down here, which is Doc Brown's chicken pot pie, which I wanted just because the combining of Doc Brown and chicken again.
Mm-hmm.
If you know your Universal Studios history, there used to be a Doc Brown's chicken restaurant. I was kind of hoping for a Doc Brown's fried chicken plate being available, but they had this instead, and it was fine.
This was over at Mel's Diner. They had a number of Back to the Future themed things at this restaurant. We'll get into our tips again for navigating food, especially at Mel's. We had some difficulties. We'll get into that in a minute. But flavor wise, it was interesting. The Cheeto or the cheese. Yeah,
it was Cheeto.
At the on the top to make like the flux capacitor pattern.
No, it's like a radioactive symbol.
Thank you, a radioactive symbol. That was kind of fun to like cut the puff pastry and kind of mix everything together. So you had the creaminess with the crunchy. But just overall, like I love a good pot pie. Yeah. And this wasn't it.
Well, it was like a pot pie mix inside of a tin that they put a puff pastry topper on top of. Yeah. But the puff pastry was kind of hard to get through as well. I don't know if it was just because it was sitting for a while.
Yeah, even with a knife, it was hard to...
Yeah, it was hard to cut through it. Yeah. So I think that kind of added to my frustration with the dish. Yeah. But it tasted fine. Like, there's nothing wrong. Like, if you're in the mood for a pot pie and, like, you know, you're used to, like, Marie Callender's or something, this is fine. Yeah. It'll get you. It'll hit the spot. You'll be like, yes, this is a pot pie. Like, it was warm enough and it tasted good. So, yeah. So, it was good. Yeah. Yeah. As much as it sounds like we're complaining, we're just saying why it's not at the top of the list. Right. Yes.
The number 4 we have on here is Yoshi's Fettuccine Alfredo from Toadstool Cafe. So I thought this dish was actually quite pleasant. Like the pasta was cooked nicely. Yes. Some of the chicken was a little chewy, but that's gonna happen. Yeah. They have broccoli and mushrooms, and I thought that was a really good addition. The Alfredo sauce was really good. However, the description said it was a pesto Alfredo sauce, and there was no pesto going on in this Alfredo sauce.
I mean, I didn't think the Alfredo was that great, honestly. I thought
it was just from a can.
It felt like it was from a can or a jar. It didn't feel like there was very little flavor to it. It was just kind of like
it's standard Alfredo sauce for me. I mean,
okay, I've had good Alfredo sauce, and this was not that. So that's the reason why. And by the time it was served, like you could tell it had been sitting for a while. Mm-hmm. You know, again, it was opening night. We got there early. We actually had this before the event started. Yeah. And yeah, it was weird because Toadstool Cafe kind of has this issue where if you haven't been there before, you have to make a reservation to go. The reservation gets you the ability to stand in line to order food at a counter. Then once you get your order, they give you a number. They give you a little like pager thing. You go over and then you are seated and then you wait. And we waited at least 20 minutes. And it wasn't like the room was packed. It was just, you can see the kitchen and it would be like one server coming out probably every like 5 minutes maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
weird.
Crazy how slow it was to get food out. And we also got a beverage, which we'll talk about when we get to drinks. A number of people were getting the exact same dish.
Because it was the two new things for Yoshi being there. It was
the fettuccine Alfredo and Yoshi smoothie. And so the fact that they weren't cranking this out is just mind-boggling to me. It is pasta.
Or the fact that like ours arrived and you could see that it had been sitting for a while, where it's like, why was something that we ordered one item, one food item, what were you waiting for? You know, why wasn't that given to us when it was made? Yeah.
So. That's an ongoing theme with this event, which again we'll get to in our tips for how to navigate the food. But I mean, flavor wise, I thought it was good. It comes with like a little tiny roll. That's supposed to be a quote unquote Yoshi egg, but with egg prices, they're not going to do that. Right. But it was a little tiny roll that had like little pesto dots.
Yeah, unless that was the pesto. I don't.
It said pesto Alfredo sauce.
Maybe that was the confusion when they were filling out the form. And
yeah.
I meant a pesto Yoshi egg.
Yeah.
But,
I thought the roll could have been cooked a little bit longer. I thought it was a little doughy.
Yeah.
But
maybe that's what we're waiting for. Maybe they had the pasta sitting there while they were cooking the egg rolls.
Maybe you're supposed to like.
It wasn't an egg roll. Sorry, I realized I said out. That's something way different.
Yeah.
But it was a bread roll in the shape of a Yoshi egg,
yes.
and it was kind of undercooked, and it was okay. Like even undercooked, it was adequate.
I wonder if we were supposed to like use the roll to mop up the Alfredo sauce.
There wasn't enough sauce to mop up. So anyway, so that's us just complaining about like churros. Again, overall, it was fine. Like if you're in the mood for a fettuccine Alfredo, it's the best one in the park.
Yeah,
because it's the only one in the park, I think. So,
but as far as pasta, I mean,
the we never tried the pasta over at the Simpsons area. They have like
no, we haven't.
The pizza shop. I think they also have pasta, so we can't tell you it's better than that one, but it was fine.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so number 3, is the Hufflepuff Churro. Now, on paper, this sounds like it should be the best thing on the face of the sun. Like it is
for your taste buds.
It's so up our alley, my alley especially.
Yes.
I thought, because that's how I read it, was that it was going to be a stuffed churro that would have pina colada flavors of pineapple and coconut and all of that. And in fact, the team member that I spoke to had described it as such. So I was really looking forward to this because anything pineapple, coconut, anything is my jam. However, one, it was a churro. So back to our conversation about churros.
Yeah, it was the same type of churro that they used over the Jujutsu Kaisen.
But it was a full-size one.
Yeah, but it wasn't cut in half, exactly.
Yes. However, this one had like chocolatey, like icing kind of thing, like in stripes.
Yeah.
To be the Hufflepuff colors. So you had the yellow with the black, and it was in those chunks of icing that the flavor was there.
Yeah.
The rest of it was just a plain churro. It wasn't stuffed. It wasn't filled with anything. And so that I was really disappointed with because I thought going into it was going to be filled.
Yeah.
And so the second half of it, because there's only like 4 or 5 of those little stripes. And so those were pleasant.
Yeah.
But the second half was just a regular plain churro.
But those bites were just pleasant enough.
Yeah.
To push it above the chicken pot pie and the fettuccine Alfredo.
Yes. The flavor was there. The flavor of the icing was there. I just wish, like, if it had been filled, it would have jumped up to number 1 on my list.
If it was filled or if it was the same texture of a Disneyland churro, I would have been, yes, this is
hands
correct.
Down. Yeah.
But it just was kind of lackluster in those two things. And yeah.
Yeah. So for number 2, I would actually put this as my number 1. Only because I wasn't a fan of number 1 for my personal taste.
Oh, that makes sense.
But number 2 is from the Dungeons and Dragons First Roll Tavern, and that is the Hunter's Mark. And so this was a sandwich, a good sized sandwich that had some meat and arugula.
It was like roast beef or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it had some au jus and very, very flavorful. A lot of bread though.
Yeah, that was my issue with it. It felt like it was a lot of bread. It wasn't like the freshest bread, in my opinion. Like you could tell, like it was kind of designed for dipping into au jus, but they didn't give you a lot of that. So
and the container of au jus, it was like those smaller containers that you would normally get like ketchup for your fries. Like
I was picturing like salsa over at like a salsa bar, at, like like
Baja
Fresh,
or
any
like
other place.
Sharky's and those little tiny ones. And so you couldn't really get your sandwich into that little dish very well to do the dipping. But once you did, probably should have just drizzled it on.
Probably should just drizzle on, but we failed. So I guess that's on us. So we're letting you know.
But
if you guys just pour that on there, and you might have a better experience.
But it was still very, very good, very flavorful. The meat was delicious. The veggies on top were very good. So I would say that was my number 1, just with the small asterisk of I just need the little container to be a little bit wider.
I need a little more au jus.
I need bit more of the au jus. But
I thought the regular wasn't as fresh as it could have been as well. It was kind of a little wilty when we got it, so that's the reason why it went lower on my list.
The bread was better than the Yoshi egg roll, though.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's why I got higher. That's why it's the number 2 instead of a number 4.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. So my number 1. So again, we're battling between 1 and 2 here. My number 1 was actually a surprise to me. I didn't expect for it to be this high on the list. Was the brand new Hogwarts Meat Pie over at the Magic Neep cart. Yeah. If you know where that is, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Is you're exiting Hogsmeade heading toward Hogwarts? Yeah, it sounded weird as I said it, but that's right. It's to the right, so it's kind of used to be a cart that just had drinks for sale, but now they added food. It was closed and boarded off for the last few months.
Yeah, because they had to do a lot of work to convert it to have popcorn and a hot box for the churros. This is where you'd also get your Hufflepuff churro.
Yes, that's true. All other houses, they also have their own churros. We just didn't try those. They also have the brand new Time Turner popcorn bucket. We didn't get that either. It looked cute, but it was like $40 or something. So we were like, you know what? I have nowhere to put it, so it's going to be okay. We'll leave it for the other even bigger fans than we are.
Yes, and that popcorn bucket will be available after FanFest. So even if you're not going to FanFest nights, it should be making a comeback. I've heard from multiple people that was the case.
But if you go during the day, you will not be able to buy it right now while FanFest is going. You can only buy it during FanFest while it's happening, but afterward it should still be there if they didn't sell out of all of them. Yeah. But back to the Hogwarts Meat Pie, though. I love a good meat pie. I don't know if you guys know what Portos is. They're putting one into Disneyland over at downtown Disney. They're famous for their meat pies. I've had more of those than I can count. And it's a great meat pie. But I thought this one was even better than those, which is way more bold than I thought I was going to be able to claim, because this is a theme park item that they were selling from a cart. But it was served hot, and it was flaky, and the filling tasted so good to me, at least. It had peas and meat, and I don't even know what else was in there, but I just was devouring the thing.
Yeah, for me, meat pies, either I love them or I don't. Portos I can do, but this one for me it tasted too olivey, and you didn't get any olive at all.
Again, I have a lower tolerance. I mean, I guess I have a higher tolerance for olives than Amanda does. So if there's a little bit in there, she's gonna spot it, whereas I'm just gonna plow right through it. So.
Yeah, so I did try it. There was a great ratio of puff pastry to meat.
Yes.
I know sometimes that it could be way off where it's mostly puff pastry. This was a good ratio. Every bite had meat in it, or some sort of filling. And
it looked cool before you ate it too. It had like the Hogwarts logo on it, like kind of like impressed in it. It was really cool looking. And it tasted really good, so that's the reason why I put it as my number 1 of the night.
Yeah,
so.
If I liked the flavor of meat pies, it would have. Yeah, but as far as the presentation of it, it's definitely high up there with number 1. For me, flavor wise, I would put the Hunter's Mark sandwich at number 1, and flip the meat pie to be number 2. Yeah. But yeah, so those are our top 6 food items.
So top 5 and a 6 that we're saying just don't even. Yeah. If you want to try any of these other ones, like again, they're good. None of them were bad. It's just we felt like they could have been better for some of the ones lower on the list, which we're just explaining why they weren't number 1 to us.
Right. All right. So let's go to drinks. So we tried 5 different drinks. So starting at number 5. We're back to Toadstool Cafe with Yoshi's Smoothie. Oh boy. Okay, so this was like a Granny Smith apple and honeydew melon smoothie combination with whipped cream with a honeydew drizzle.
Yeah.
And a mint sprig. Man, oh man, oh man. Okay, if it was just apple or just melon.
Yeah. 100%.
This would be a hit. However, with it combined, it was way overpowering.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that they would balance each other out, because you have kind of like a tart apple with a sweet melon. I'm like, oh, this could be really good. But when I took that first swig, I was like, oh no. Like I was telling Amanda, it felt like when you go and have like a soda fountain, you make a suicide where you like take a little bit of each soda, take a sip, where like, oh no, these flavors do not go together. I should not have done that. That's how this felt, where they just kind of battled each other the whole time in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a lot of like green apple Jolly Rancher and like a honeydew candy of some sort.
Yeah.
Like it was way too sweet. And then like there's a milk in there, like a coconut milk or something to get like a creaminess.
I think it's regular milk is what they said.
I thought it said like a
coconut it said like a touch of cream or something.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, so I thought maybe adding the like kind of stirring in some of the whipped cream would make it creamier and kind of help balance. No.
It just made it more sweet. Yeah, I think the problem is like with the apple, if it was more of a sour apple, it maybe would have been able to be helped by the honeydew. Mm-hmm. But because it wasn't that sour of an apple, it was so sweet with more sweet. It just did not make sense.
Yeah. Presentation was cute though.
Oh yeah, the cup was beautiful. The way it looked was good.
Yeah, the cup had like Yoshi around the side, and it had it was a green smoothie, and then you had the white whipped cream, and then with the honeydew drizzle of green dotted around the whipped cream. It was really cute presentation. It just did not hit the mark.
If you're just there for Instagram, get this drink and take a photo, and then just put it to the side.
Yeah,
so.
take a sip just to say that you did it.
We could be wrong. You don't have our taste buds, so who knows? But in our opinion, it was not the best drink.
Yeah, let us know.
But luckily, the other 4 on our list we actually really liked.
Yes.
So not much more griping from us from here on. We'll see how it goes. Number 4 on the list we have is what they called the Goodberry. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's a reference within the world of Dungeons and Dragons.
I think so.
I'm not familiar with it, but it was over at the First World Tavern, and it was delicious. This is an alcoholic drink, so if you don't drink alcohol, you can't get this one. I don't think they had a non-alcoholic variant.
No, they might have.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Because over there, it was over, what was it, they call it Jurassic Cove. If you've been there during Halloween Horror Nights, they had like the weekend bar. I don't know, was that last year?
Oh, I don't recall.
Anyway, if you go up the stairs to the left of the Jurassic Park shop, you'll end up at a little bar area. Mm-hmm. So over there is where we got this drink. And when they pour it, they actually have kind of like those, you find them with like juice in them where it just like looks like a glass container that has like juice flowing, I guess. And then you can push a glass to it and it'll pour into the glass, if that makes sense. Like a little dispenser for it. So they did that, and then they added the alcohol to it after they poured it into the cup.
They can probably.
So you think they could have it non-alcoholic, but I don't remember seeing it on the menu. So I don't know if you can like ask, can I get that without the alcohol? But with it was good. Again, it had rum that I like. So.
Mm-hmm. And it came with a hard crystal candy.
Yeah, a hard rock candy.
Yeah, that you could stir into it.
We were advised to do that because it was going to be too sour without it, and I think she was right. Mm-hmm. Because I was surprised because like reading the description, it sounded like it was going to be really sweet. It did say it had lemon, and I didn't realize how much lemon it would have. I think that's kind of where it tipped the scales on it. So it needed that extra sweet to balance it out. But once it was balanced out, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing.
Yeah, it was. And also, I just dawned on me, this location, if you were there during Christmas time, this is where you would meet the Grinch on the lower lot.
Correct.
So if you're familiar with that area, that is where this First World Tavern is. And they had a live DJ down below playing some songs and stuff.
Yeah, this is also where we got the Hunter's Mark sandwich. Too.
Yes, that's true.
So even though I said it's a bar, this time they actually had food as well. I don't think they had it in the past. I could be wrong.
They had little snacks.
Okay. So they had full-on sandwiches now, and we got it, and it was good. Mm-hmm. So that was definitely a good experience. Number 3 on the list
is Nico Robin's Tropical Iced Tea. And followed by number 2, Nami's Tangerine Breeze. Both of these were at the One Piece Eatery, which is the Cocina Mexicana in Production Plaza. By the hub where everything is, where you have the new Fast and Furious rides going, and then that's also where the entrance of Harry Potter is. Yeah. So
it's right past the Kung Fu Panda show on your left.
Can't miss it.
Yeah, so if you have Mexican food there, you know how the system's set up where you order on one side, then you go around the corner to wait at the window and find out how many people are ahead of you at that point.
Yes.
Which is what happened here to us.
Yes. So we got in line at around 6 o'clock, like 6:04 is when we finally ordered. So the line itself to order went pretty smooth.
Oh yeah, it was really fast.
And this was right before the event started at 7. So we figured we'll get a couple of drinks and then we'll go stand in line for Star Trek. That was our plan. And then the event would start and we would go right into Star Trek at the open. So we ordered just fine. We got the dining pass fine. We then went around the corner and waited
with a crowd of people.
Everybody else. It took over 35 minutes, almost 40 minutes.
Yeah.
To get our 2 drinks.
And that's only because I eventually gave up and went and asked, because they started calling numbers after ours, even though they never called our number.
Yeah.
And they just seemed like they were kind of frantic back behind the window.
Yeah.
And like they were trying to handle all these orders coming in. And yeah it was rough.
I will say this location had, like, they normally have a pretty good sized menu.
Yeah.
And this was all new things. They had 6 new dishes plus new drinks for the One Piece franchise. And so for the chefs behind the scenes, I'm sure they were working nonstop, super frantic to try and get these dishes out. Just the logistics didn't flow. And I'm pretty sure there was a new team member that started her shift right then, because there was a drastic change of silence between orders, like just one occasional, and then it was rapid fire calling out numbers. So we're not sure what happened there. It could be that they were trying to get the orders out in the order in which they were received. Something was backed up and caused everybody else to be backed up instead of triaging. We're not really sure.
But despite that half hour wait for these drinks, they were really good.
They were delightful.
Yeah. Both of them are non-alcoholic, so anyone can get them. Like we said, the Trouble Guys tea, we put, actually, I think I would put that one higher. Yeah, I'd put that one higher than the Tangerine. I think I did. I just had trouble with the keyboard over here.
Oh.
Yeah, because one is, it was very pineapple forward. The other one was very tangerine forward.
Yes.
So depending on your preference, you would like one over the other. Mm-hmm. I felt like the iced tea wasn't very iced tea forward.
No.
It was very pineapple drink. And
yes.
It was nice.
It was. Yeah. It had, not only did it have pineapple in the drink, but it had a pineapple chunk in there, like a wedge, and it had fresh raspberries. So for me, that was number 2 on my list.
Yeah.
The Tangerine Breeze had actual tangerines on top.
Yeah, little pieces, little chunks of tangerine.
Yeah, but they could have easily done a candied tangerine.
Yes.
But this was like actual tangerine.
It was real fruit on top of your drink, and it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
both of these, they were both $11 each, so they're not cheap drinks for no alcohol being in them.
Yeah.
But they did count for the tabs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get the dining pass, they count as your drink/dessert item or snack, I guess. There's like 3 categories.
Yeah. So you have on the dining pass, you have 2 entrees, and then you have 4 items, and then that item could be a drink, a snack, or a dessert.
Yes. And it's kind of a weird dining pass, to be honest, because there's a lot of ways to buy it and then not get your money back.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't done the math to see if we won or not, I guess, because we kind of ran out of time at the end of the day, and we're just like, just give us a water,
Yeah, you can use it for just a bottle of water or a bottle of soda.
But it was kind of weird, because we also had asked before the event started over at the New Magic Neat Cart if the meat pies and the churros counted for the dining pass. And we were told very confidently, yes, they will. But when we went back later during the event, we were informed, no, they are not valid here.
Yeah.
So
we also received some confusion as to when they were going to be released, because we were hoping to get because there's a lot of these foods and beverages are available before the event starts. And you can, even if you're not attending the event, you can still order them before the event starts. And we were really hoping to get the dining pass before the event so we can apply these tabs to the items. But we heard varying times as to when they were going to be released and where. So some had said, like, it's going to be released around 5 or 6 over at Quark's Cafe, which is the Hollywood and Dine. And then we went over there. They didn't have them there. Like
they seemed very confused why we would ask for it. Yeah, it was definitely a first day communication snafu. And we get
that happens.
Yes.
But hopefully that can be addressed, especially for, I mean, if it's the first night for the team, it's also the first night for the guests. Yeah. And the guests are going to have a lot of questions. And the app wasn't very informative as to where and what and how and all of that. And so we look to the team members to have that information. And when we're getting differing information from there and they're also confused, that doesn't reflect very well. So just things
so just
to
giving you a heads up. So if you're going to this, hopefully they've worked out some of the kinks. If they haven't, hopefully you're writing down some notes here.
And then speaking of Quark's Cafe, that was by far the location for our favorite drink of the night.
Yes.
And that is the Orion Hurricane. Another pineapple drink.
Another alcohol drink.
This is an alcohol drink. The 2 and 3 weren't alcohol drinks though.
Yeah, but like, no, I'm just saying like this one does have alcohol in it, like the Goodberry did.
Yes. But similar setup where it's a juice that is in a dispenser already, and then they add the alcohol after the fact. So you can probably ask for it to be non-alcoholic, but it was very, very refreshing. All these drinks, except for, maybe not the Yoshi smoothie one. Yeah, but the other 4, very, very refreshing.
Oh, yes.
Highly recommend, just depending on your flavor profile of what you would like to try. But
if you don't like a Dole Whip, you won't like the Orion Hurricane, but if you do, you will. So it's kind of that simple.
Dole Whip in a cup.
I think that's how you talk to theme park people, so that's how I speak. So,
But so those were our top 5 drinks and the top 5 of the Fan Fest. So overall, so much fun.
A lot of fun. A really good time. We said we're going to talk about tips and advice, I guess, on handling this event. I know for a few of the locations for food, you can actually mobile order ahead of time. You cannot use your dining pass if you're mobile ordering. So, I don't know. I think if I would do it again, I wouldn't have gone to the dining pass, and I would have been mobile ordering my food instead of waiting a half hour at a time for items, because it did get very frustrating. Again, I don't know if that's just a first day hiccup it'll be better when you go, but I feel like if I could have done it again, I would have just skipped the pass and I would have mobile ordered every drink and meal that we would have gotten, because everyone who did that, who I talked to, were like, I mobile ordered and it just walked up when it was ready, and it was really fast.
Yeah.
So,
but at the same time, I think some of the mobile orders confused the staff.
Oh, yes.
Because it's like, okay, well, what came first? But to that point, every location that we went to that was more of a dining location, an eatery, as opposed to a quick service cart, all of those locations were very, very backed up.
Yeah.
Toadstool took 20-25 minutes to get the Fettuccine Alfredo and the Yoshi smoothie. The One Piece
that one took
Mexican
about 30
restaurant.
minutes for 2 drinks.
It was more like 40 for those two drinks.
I believe it.
And then with
the Doc Brown's chicken pot pie
at Mel's.
It took another half an hour, I think.
Yeah.
For a limited event, where you're just there for that one night, it's frustrating when you spend over an hour of it just waiting for food.
Yeah, they ran out of a lot of things. And that was also a point of confusion for a lot of people, because they announced, we're out of the concha.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, they got another cart of them and then said, okay.
They were making announcements that they were out of food and to come back for a refund, and then within 5 minutes they had that food back in stock.
Yeah.
So
that was really confusing. When we were at Mel's, they announced there was probably 20-30 people already waiting for food.
Yeah. And
then they announced that the flux capacitor burger, I don't know if a machine was down or something, or a grill, where they were only down to 1. And so the lady announced that if you ordered it, it's probably going to take another 25 to 30 minutes to get them out. And if you wanted a refund or exchange for something else, then they would do that.
Yeah.
So that caused a huge point of contention because a lot of people had just ordered that.
Yeah.
And it actually looked really good. That was a thing that was on maybe my potential list.
Yeah.
But we were in the mood for the pot pie at that point. Which I know that was a huge issue with that. Like the pot pies were...
Yeah, they had trouble getting the meals out. I guess like they were trying to go in the order on the screen, but then items that were on like, on the list before me at least, weren't fully ready yet. So they were waiting for a few items. And they didn't want to go past items that were like people who had their items completely ready. Because you can see their screen. I don't know if you've ever been to the park there and looked at the little monitors where you can see that it turns like fully green when the whole order is ready. And it's like a little like white outline if it's not. And they were just trying to tackle it one at a time as they were done being ready, instead of just triaging it and getting out the ones that were ready right now. So everyone had to wait for whoever was the slowest to be able to get theirs eventually. I know a lady next to me was waiting for one milkshake as the one lady behind the counter had made at least 8 or 9 of them. And they were just sitting on the counter, just waiting to go. And she had the rest of her food like sitting on a tray, and she was there for at least 10 minutes with her food getting cold, waiting for a milkshake that she can see right in front of her. And right to the left of that were 5 chicken pot pies just sitting. So it was kind of like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Who are those for? Because there aren't that many people in front of me. So there's no way that one of those isn't my pot pie. Can you just hand it to me so I can move on to my next adventure here on FanFest?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a weird setup there.
Yeah. It doesn't make much sense to me how that flows. We've been to other theme parks that has a very...
We've experienced this before. We've experienced like worse. Yes.
Yeah. And so I get it, but at the same time, like, you're at a theme park dining location that is constantly cranking out food and drink, and there is no downtime, right? Yeah. And so the expectation is that you are constantly cranking out food and can get the food out as fast as possible to clear the room. The fact that there was 20 to 30 people waiting for their food after they've paid is outrageous. Like, I don't understand.
And that they were running out of food after people had ordered the food. And that happened a few times too.
Yeah.
While I was waiting for the chicken pot pie, they ran out of their the cookie that looks like fire tracks. I don't know how to describe it for Back to the Future. And a lot of people were like, wait, what? But I just paid for that. Like, we can give you the other cookie instead that was like $1 less. For like, why am I getting gypped on this thing because you guys ran out of stuff,
Yeah.
If people are getting angry, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I have nothing but empathy for people who work at theme parks. I understand that is not a situation that they wanted to be in. But whoever's in charge of inventory should have had the system set to actually, like, notify them of, hey, we're almost out of this item.
Right. And especially for things like the cookie, that was available at multiple locations. And so if they were running low in a particular area, then a call should have been made out to the other location saying, hey, do you have a surplus? Can you front us some? So that way we can at least stop the incoming orders, and say, like, okay, we are now out for the evening. However, we can still fulfill all of the ones who have already paid for it. And I don't think that happened because they were issuing refunds and all of that. So, but I will shout out there were some amazing team members who were keeping the energy high all night long. Yes. Even some that were in the food establishments. Yes. The two of the ladies, Linda and I think her name was Robin, over at Mel's and at the First Roll Tavern. Very high energy. How's your evening going? Have a great night. Chatting with us, super friendly. And so, like, that's what it's all about right there. And yes, it's opening night. Yes, it's high energy and everything. But, like, those that brought it made the night.
Yes, 100%.
And like Kevin said, yes, there's going to be some kinks. It's the first night. And it's the first ever Fan Fest night.
Yeah.
So there's a huge learning curve just with this alone. But anytime you have a big production like this, there's going to be some things to iron out. So there were a ton of high points, just a couple of things to iron out in our experience.
Yeah, we really point out the stuff to iron out, just so that way you know going into it. In case you experience it too, that you know that, hey, this is something that they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, we're not complaining, like saying like, you know, it was a terrible night, they didn't have anything under control. Because it was still wonderful. It was a great experience. I wouldn't have, if I could do it again, I would do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. We were there the entire time. So it went until 2 a.m. We were able to get to every single experience, except we didn't take a picture in the One Piece fan zone area, but we did walk through it. Yeah. But we were able to experience everything, even went to Star Trek twice. Just about everything on our must try list, or, you know, we created a list of things we really wanted to try. For the most part, we tried everything on that list. There was just a couple of things that we didn't get to, but that's okay.
Yeah, they ran out of my Earl Grey hot.
Yeah, that is a thing with Universal in general. With hot butter beer and hot beverages, just full stop. When it gets cold out, everybody is going for those hot drinks, and they're in very, very limited supply. And so it was no surprise that they ran out of the Earl Grey hot. And of course the butterbeer, butterbeer hot. Butterbeer too. They will very frequently run out towards the latter part of the night. So, totally understandable with that. I wish they had it all the time. They know what the temperatures are going to be like. They know it's going to be a fan favorite. Especially those who are well versed in the fandom of Star Trek, to get the Earl Grey beverage. It's going to be colder. They're going to want it hot, more likely than not. And so and of course the butterbeer hot, it just needs to be on tap all the time. Whatever they need to do to make that happen.
Yeah, that's just our opinion, but you know, it's fine. It didn't ruin my night.
No.
It was still a great time. Definitely.
It was still a fabulous time, and definitely let us know if you are planning on going. That there are select nights going on between now tonight and the 18th of May, I believe.
That sounds correct, yeah.
So be sure to go to the Universal Studios Hollywood website, click on the Fan Fest, and get your tickets. They also have VIP experiences for Fan Fest, where you can walk around with a tour guide, get front of the line access, and get a full VIP experience there. They also have express passes to get to the front of the line at the experiences as well, without the guided tour. So there's multiple ways to experience Fan Fest nights. And so if you're going, definitely let us know. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, what you tried.
If you had something that we had and you think it's like we were wrong, let us know.
Yeah,
definitely, for good or for bad, either way, we're happy to hear about it.
Yeah. And let us know if you go and say hi to Yoshi. You do that character meet and greet after the egg hunt. Which Yoshi did you see? Did you see the blue one, the pink one?
I think those are the only two up there.
Both, you know.
Yeah, it's true. If you got the right at the sweet spot where they switch the half hour.
Yeah. So definitely share your experience with us at We're in the Park on all of the channels. And until next time, we'll see you somewhere in the park.
All right. See you later.
Bye for now.